You come in as a fresher and you're kind of lowest of the low, and then I'm going to go out as the lowest of the low, which I do quite enjoy.
And we're live. Welcome back to episode 3 of Grass on the Wicket podcast. Sam, how are you today?
I'm alright. I felt better, but I'm alright.
Big night yesterday?
Reasonably big, yeah.
I mean, fair enough. We also have
it's 8:30 in the evening.
Yeah, but I've been in bed all day.
You're getting old.
Actually, that's a lie. I woke up quite early because I was watching cricket.
So today we have a special guest on the podcast, Mr. George Simmons. How are you? President of the University of Edinburgh Men's Hockey Club, avid cricket fan. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very well, thank you. I feel slightly like a bit of a turncoat, really. I feel like a hockey president on a cricket podcast. They're two things which don't usually go together.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, you have a big cricketing background, so would you want to tell us a little bit about your cricketing background? Who do you support? Who you're a big fan of? Obviously, I heard you listened about hearing me, big fan of Ish Sodhi. So I just want to know a little bit more about your cricketing background.
So I'm from Bath. I've been playing cricket for as long as I can remember, really. I'm going to whisper it quietly, but I'm probably prefer cricket to hockey, which is a very rogue thing to say. And yeah, played a lot of cricket growing up. From a big cricketing family, so my great granddad and my great uncle both were England cricket captains. So it was always written in the stars, really, that I was going to... Unfortunately, I haven't inherited their cricketing skills.
Yeah.
However, I have inherited their love for cricket. So
that's
so
a big lineage to come from.
Yeah. I mean, it's
two England captains.
Big claim to fame.
It's one of those things, though, that once you find that out, you suddenly realise that you're always going to be never quite living up to that level. You know, because even if I, by some stroke of genius, became England cricket captain, I still would not be surpassing anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, how can you go past that in a cricketing term?
I mean, maybe ICC World 11 captain, but like, even
the real cricket fan doesn't really care, surely.
Sam, how was training? Unfortunately, not because we're recording on a Sunday. How was training yesterday?
It was quite good. It was a long slog. Had a 3-hour session, basically all of it bowling. So I was pretty broken by the end of it.
Yeah.
Been pretty stiff today, but yeah.
You were quite sweaty when I saw you.
I was very sweaty by the end of it.
But I batted all right. I think I only got to face the spinners, which I was like, there's no point in me like just there, because I was just like, all I was playing was sweep shots and hitting straight over long on, backing the fact of from previous podcast, the drinks break, where I said all I have is behind square and bombing it straight. Let's move on to some questions. So we got a Twitter question from Neil Granger. He says, "Okay, gentlemen, you discussed the fact that international test match cricket is the pinnacle and other forms include baseball. Given the number of other things vying for precious time and the growing trend to have sport and other things in life condensed into a shorter format, how do you continue to grow appeal to the masses and stay relevant on an international level? How does this change for playing at grassroots where time is even more precious? What would you do with a blank canvas?" George.
I mean, I feel that that's quite a...
30 questions in
yeah,
one.
It is. I mean, I don't really know where to start with it.
Okay, so let's break it down then. What would you do? Okay, so I guess we at Grass on the Wicket have had a big focus on test match cricket. We want test match to stay the pinnacle of the game. What would you do to keep it relevant? That's the first one I reckon to say.
See, I think for me there's a couple of things you can do. I think test match cricket has almost always been seen as being in trouble. It's quite interesting if you look back in even as far like, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, it's always been talked about as not being as good as it was, or there's some kind of issue with it. And so to a certain extent, I think that maybe that kind of idea around test match cricket needs to change. If people are always thinking something's in trouble, then why would you start watching it if you've not seen it before?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that it is actually not in trouble, but I just think that there may be a slight mentality shift that needs to change.
I think it's a very good point. Even going back, you started 50s there. It's been a thing there's stuff going back to sort of the 1890s, the start of Test match cricket, and people were always saying, oh, it's going to die. And I think it is worth noting, it has evolved in certain ways. They've trialled different numbers of balls and overs. They've gone from timeless tests to 5-day tests. They've done, they've reduced the number of matches in series and stuff. But fundamentally, it's the same game, and it's, I would argue, as healthy as ever, really, in a lot of places.
And on a grassroots level, what do you think you'd do? Any ideas, like on a club scale? Have you got any ideas?
As in how to keep people playing cricket? Or...
Yeah, so what I said was that on a club level, kind of similar to rugby clubs and tennis clubs, you give tickets to those clubs to test matches for free. Like, I know tennis clubs near me in Kent, they get tickets to Wimbledon every year, and it really generates interest in test cricket. Because giving free tickets is a real way to let kids and clubs get on board and just push test cricket.
Should it be test match cricket? Because I feel like test matches in England are almost always
Packed
pretty
out,
close
yeah.
to sell out. So why don't you give free county tickets?
I think that is already a case. I know that's the case in Kent because I know like
most of the counties will have at least one day a year where they'll invite schools.
Get free, yeah. So that's already a case in county cricket. I think in Test cricket,
but roll it out, make it free day every day for a school child.
Yeah,
because then I can remember when I was at school, they used to have Bath was an out ground for Somerset.
Yeah.
They would come and play. Usually it was a 1-4-day game and maybe a ODI or a
probably like in their cricket
game.
week kind of thing. Yeah.
And I would go down after school with my dad, but I can imagine if it was a free ticket every day.
There are a couple of counties, I believe, that now do give under 18s admission or maybe under 16s admission for free. I think it's a fantastic idea. You want to surely be encouraging the younger generations to come and watch and get involved in the game as much as possible. And that, if you create that love for cricket at an early age, then I think all three of us are probably in the boat where we learned to love it at a young age, and then it was just, I'm going to play cricket until my body breaks, basically.
Well, yeah, key thing I was going to say was when I was 16, I still remember, Kent had a deal where you pay £25, you could any game for the whole summer. Yeah. Absurd, like really good value. You go to 4 games, you make your money back. Yeah. And it was just good fun. The one thing I don't know if it's feasible or not in test match cricket, especially like on a big ground, but like on smaller grounds, maybe being able to go on the pitch at tea or lunchtime, because it can kind of bring the game to life a bit more, and you can actually feel what it's like to be on like an amazing pitch.
Yeah, again, a lot of places do that.
I'm not sure in Test cricket they do that. I know they do it in county cricket, like in Canterbury. Oh, like New Zealand and places.
I know it does happen at Test cricket.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how widespread it is for tests.
I just have images of, you see the old games from the 70s and 80s where the whole crowd just descends on the pitch and whoever's just the last batsman standing's like running off.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I imagine.
The players have to grab the stumps to stop getting stolen.
Or that West Indies video. Have you seen that video where Steve Waugh is like on the pitch and like I can't remember the exact scenario what happens, but like it's in the West Indies and it's the worst pitch invasion I've ever seen. Like it was dangerous for Steve Waugh when he was batting.
I mean, I'd feel for David Warner and Steve Smith in the summer. Surely someone's going to run at them with sandpaper, aren't they?
Yeah. He's definitely going to be a Barmy Army member who just won too many pints deep.
Okay, and I guess relevancy on the level, so there's obviously a lot of talk about the new World Test Championship. Any suggestions on the way of the formatting that they could have done for it? I mean, obviously, I don't know if have they even finalised the format?
I don't know. I've still not.
So the ICC met I think a couple of weeks back, and they meet again soon to I guess finalise all the details for it because it starts I think this year or next year. But I mean, George, have you got any ideas of how you think the format should be, like in terms of time span, and then also like 2 divisions, 1 division, that kind of thing?
Well, I've got a rogue suggestion. I know it's something they've trialled in the women's game of having, how often you have a test match series, then you have ODI and T20, and you have points allocated for each. And I wondered about doing, rather than a test match championship, having a cricket championship, and you would have a set format. So you'd have, say, 3 test matches, 5 ODIs, 2 T20s, or whatever you would do. And that's how you would run that kind of test match championship style thing, and I feel it would add a bit more relevance to the international T20, which isn't the most popular,
Yeah.
but seems to still be happening no matter what people say about it. And I also think that might increase interest in the test match game, especially if you play the test matches at the end, and if you had the test matches as the big
Last goal wins kind of thing,
kind of, I don't know,
finale,
5-pointer, 7-pointer, and try and manufacture it so that it all comes down to
who wins
the last
test
two
series
test
almost,
matches.
yeah.
Or,
Imagine like the 5th day on like in something like that for a whole like month or a month and a half. A team is playing like touring a country, and it comes down to the last day of the tour. That would be that's an amazing idea. I've never thought
yeah,
of
I mean it's definitely. As I say, they do it in the women's game for the Ashes in particular. They use that format, and as far as I can tell, it's always worked reasonably well.
I mean, they tend to play the test matches first,
Yeah.
which is fine, but
theirs as well. It'll just be it's one test, isn't it? They play.
No problem.
And also the worry is so often you have a team wins a test match which is heavily weighted in terms of points, and they win 2 other ODIs, and almost
And
it's
that's it.
regardless of what happens in the other 5 matches, it's done.
Yeah.
Whereas if you played the test matches at the end and they were the big points winner, I feel like people would get a bit more invested in that. I remember in 2005 they played the T20s and the ODIs before they played the Ashes series.
Yeah.
And Kevin Peterson came in and played the ODIs first, and that was kind of the first time he kind of got involved in the England team, and he smacked Shane Warne and McGrath around, and so everyone was like, oh, hang on a second, what's going to happen here?
The thing is, actually, you kind of really touched on an interesting thing there, where the tests are generally played first in tours, and it's almost sort of you want to build up to the tests, surely, because the tests are what should be the main spectacle, and yet all tours seem to be organised as having the tests first, and then you
just kind of get them out of the way. But
it just creates the tours don't really feel like any great spectacle together. It's just there's a test series and then there's some white ball series, and they're kind of all just sort of mashed. And it's while you're over there, you may as well play some other games, and it's all a bit. I don't know. It just feels like there's not a huge amount of thought gone into organising it.
Well, they also talk about how there's not enough warm-up games for the international touring teams. So why don't you play the limited over games first? Which, okay, is great to see Jason Roy smacking the ball around left, right, and centre. But why don't you play the ODIs as a warm-up game, and then Joe Root gets a chance to try and score some runs and set up a bit more competitive test match
That's
series?
a very good point. The one thing I wanted to bring up, I guess, as we kind of touched on it, was the T20 internationals. So I personally don't think they're that useful. I think most of the time they're added onto a tour. They take 4 to 6 days to complete like a 3-match series. Or often they're just like a one-off T20, like it's always often the only T20 international. And like I looked at some statistics. Around each year, each team only plays 6 a year, unless there's a World Cup.
Well, that was actually, I'm assuming that's still the same limit that was imposed by the ICC, basically upon I think it was when T20, as soon as T20 leagues got kind of any size, like when the IPL started, the ICC basically said, well, the international teams can't play too many, or else it just all becomes T20.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So I was going to say, there's so many T20 leagues in the world right now. There's the IPL, there's the Big Bash, the Bangladesh League, the Pakistani League, the Caribbean League, the 100, the T20 Blast, there's the Euro League now. There's just so many leagues that, like, I just don't see the need. And those leagues themselves, as franchises, are gaining more traction than T20 international cricket are.
I think so. My feeling on it is, if you were to get rid of T20 internationals, I'd want to see the return of something that was sort of like a multinational competition. So like the Champions League T20 was, but like less shambolically organised. So actually, don't just let all the IPL teams in. Which was near enough. I mean, I think it was 4
it's
IPL
4.
teams
I remember
entered into it, and it's like, well, that's half your teams. That doesn't seem fair. And also, obviously, there was the problem of players playing for the IPL team because they got more money for it.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you had Kyron Pollard, right?
Yeah.
Pardon me. I remember looking. He could have been playing for the Barbados Tridents. He could have played for his Big Bash team, or he could have played for the Mumbai Indians. And I think Somerset were there as well. So like he could have played for 4 sides. Obviously, he's going to pick the team which will pay the most money.
I think my feeling on that was there's no reason the ICC couldn't just essentially chuck money at it and say we'll fill the shortfall between your IPL contract and your home contracts. We'll pay you that, but you have to play for your home team.
So would that not become essentially like the international T20? You know, if you've got Kyron Pollard,
it would a little bit.
You've got to play for your Caribbean franchise.
You've got to have that success at the domestic level as a team, and also, you still would have overseas players. It's just you wouldn't have all the big stars. If their home team's there, they play for them. But equally, you might have Kyron Pollard playing for the CPL team, but you might have Dwayne Bravo and Andre Russell playing for an IPL team.
For Chennai or Kolkata, yeah. I mean, it's a tricky one.
I'd also T20 nationals, which actually is a note I made in response to Neil's question, that you just give it a bit more kind of context if they entered into the Olympics, for example, and you give yourself that wider scope of it, which given cricket not being in the Olympics is a bizarre one, because the IOC basically came out and said we would support cricket being in the Olympics, and that's very rare for them to say we would support any sport being in the Olympics, and yet the ICC went, nah, let's not. Let's not try and grow the game by having it in the Olympics. Let's just leave it.
Have a 10-team World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually is mentioned in the film Death of a Gentleman. I don't know if you've watched it, Joe or George.
I've not seen it.
It's a really good watch, actually. It came out quite a few years ago, but it's still. Well, I watched it a couple of weeks ago, or rewatched it, and it's mentioned in that if cricket were in the Olympics, suddenly countries like China and Russia would just chuck so much money at it that compared to the amount of money that those cricket associations currently get from the ICC, it's essentially it's nothing. No, it's way more than that. Yeah. It's orders of magnitude more. Currently, I think Chinese cricket gets something like it's sort of tens of thousands of pounds a year, or equivalent of. If it were an Olympic sport, they'd be getting like tens of millions just from the government, and so the ICC don't even have to pay it.
But so, say it would have to be T20 cricket.
Yeah. Yes, or T10, to be fair.
Or T10.
No, I don't want to see baseball.
It's just T20's not baseball. What?
Where does that leave Test match cricket? If I'm a young Joe Root and I see, hang on a second, I can win an Olympic gold medal, or I can go and play 4-day county cricket, and I'll go and play in May in Durham on a seaming pitch where if I get 30, then hang on a second, I'm almost getting called up for England. Then I feel like that maybe that's the sticky situation the ICC are in.
I think you're right. I think if it does go, if cricket goes into the Olympics, the relevancy of Test cricket then depreciates massively. And I think that, but I guess the counter argument is the Olympic is only every 4 years. And so, I mean, it's for such a short amount of time.
My feeling on it as well would be as a cricket fan, I'm not sure I'd care that much about who won the Olympic T20 tournament, but it would bring relevance of cricket to people who aren't already cricket fans.
Yeah.
And then they get into cricket, and then as a cricket fan, I think you'd see Test as the pinnacle, because it's the purest form of the game.
I still love a day 5. Just day 5. If it's like anyone's team to win.
Day 15 of the timeless test. That's what we need.
Anyway, let's move on to Dwayne Olivier and his interesting comments this week about saying he would now, once joining Yorkshire on a Colpack contract, is now thinking, let's move on to playing for England. What do you think, George?
I mean, in seriousness, I'm very unconvinced by it. However, selfishly, I was quite excited, as I was mentioning to you guys earlier. There is something, when you get to 15, you realise you're not going to be a professional sportsman. However, there is still a little part of my brain that is like, you know what, if the circumstances were right, then maybe I can make an international debut in something. And if Dwayne is thinking, hang on a second, I'll move to England and then suddenly start playing for England, then I'm suddenly going to get keen and go and live in, I don't know, Kenya or somewhere and try and qualify for a different national team. I mean, I need to think about this logically. Maybe if cricket's coming into the Olympics, I'll go and live in France because the Olympics are going there in a couple of years' time. So
sorted.
I'll get in the French national
Home
team.
gold.
Sorted.
Gold,
Can you imagine?
Gold at the Champs-Élysées.
Can you imagine my attempted leg spin? Hat-trick in the final over of the T10 baseball / cricket tournament.
That'd be good. And do you have any opinion specifically on the fact that he's a South African international and he now wants to move to England? Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you think he should be allowed to do that? Like,
I mean,
already playing for a national side?
I don't think he should be allowed to. Why? What motivation has he given for wanting to play for England?
His motivation is... my thinking is that he needs some sort of... the reason he's moved to England, I think, is it's purely financial.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some digging, and on average, England's central contracts are currently worth around $850,000 per player. Cook's contract as the captain was around 1.5 million, plus your captain's bonuses and your sponsorships. You get 15k per test match you play, 7k per ODI, and 3.5k per T20. While in South Africa, if you're on a central contract, you're making half that, 350k, and then you make 5k per test, 2k per ODI, and $900 per T20. And so financially, England could provide double. And I think I read an article in Wisden saying that he's making 3 times as much here as he was there. Mm-hmm. So my thinking of why he's thinking he wants to play for England is just to give him that incentive to keep playing. Mm. Because I think he says that he just doesn't want to play after a while, I reckon. Because you make money financially, that's all he's really here to do, unfortunately. But yeah, Sam, what do you think?
Well, I think it's the disparity in how much the boards pay.
Yeah, it's massive.
That's largely just down... Cricket South Africa couldn't afford to pay their players the amounts that the ECB pay, which all goes back to the big three. The big three. the redistribution of wealth among the ICC, and it's slowly killing the game, arguably, in terms of the game in places like South Africa where players are just
leaving.
Yeah.
Well, they've had so many... Like, we talked about this last time. They lose all these players, but they just keep finding them, don't they? Like when Olivier left, or like...
Anrich Nortje
came in, he bowls absolute heat. And, like, they just find a replacement. I just don't like the idea of it. Playing for one nation and then joining another one. I mean, Ronke did it, to be fair. Luke Ronke did it. Played for Australia, played 2 ODIs for Australia, or 5... Now and then played about 50 ODIs for New Zealand.
Ronke's case was essentially he realised he wasn't going to be good enough to get picked for Australia for very long, and went, I could definitely get picked for New Zealand and I can qualify that really, really easily.
But what was absurd about it, Dwayne was just getting into his peak.
It'd be interesting to know, and obviously I don't think he'll ever come out and say how much it impacted his decision, but the quota system had to have played a part, surely, because it does sort of limit his chances.
Yeah, it does.
As a white South African.
Yeah. It's a tricky one.
It's a very tricky one. I mean, people have written huge amounts on the quota system, whether it's good or bad, and I don't know don't pretend to know anywhere near enough about it.
Yeah, I don't want to comment on it. County cricket. The Champions Tour has just begun.
The MCC versus the champion county match out in Dubai has started today.
It links in quite well with Mr. Joe Chalmers' question.
It does. We'll probably address those, and then we can, if we go...
So Joe Chalmers from Facebook, pardon me, asked, Tom Abel, England call-up. George, what do you think?
Well, I thought I was coming on to a cricket podcast, but it seems to have been more of a comedy podcast. And Tom Abel's getting a call up. So I'm a Somerset fan, and so I love Tom Abel. I would say I'm not going to say as much as anyone because Joe Chalmers obviously is a massive fan. However, I went back and did some research of his career, and he started promisingly, scored maybe
95 on debut.
Yeah,
I was there for it.
I mean,
that
is a good start. But he averages 32 in the county championship.
Yes.
Like, you can't be, surely.
But equally.
No, you're not.
I mean, you can't hold an average of 32 saying he can't play for England because you've had the likes of Jennings and Stoneman play as batsmen and only batsmen recently, and they average both of them about 33, 34 in first class cricket.
But they have, I would say,
they get some sort of form.
Yeah,
I guess
have a bit of
some
consistency. Still, as a Somerset fan, I see Tom Abel walk to the crease, and I'm desperate for him to do well. Don't get me wrong, but there is no part of me that is confident of him. James Hildreth. Yes, I will argue his case.
How he hasn't had a go, I don't understand.
I mean, don't get me started on Hildy not playing for England.
I mean, I must admit, I personally would still pick Ian Bell.
Right now,
yeah.
In the current format.
I would. 100%.
Instead, and you bring him straight in, or
100%.
as a replacement for someone. Who'd you drop?
From that last, you'd have a bit of a reshuffle, wouldn't you? I'm still not convinced with Jennings at the top of the order.
I think.
Yeah, but who's replacing them at the top of the order? This is England's great problem at the minute is they have so many middle order batsmen.
Sam Northeast. No, I'm joking. Absolutely not. He's had a bad season.
That's because he's not very good.
I take that back. At one point, he was near call up. I mean, the question this
doesn't mean he's good.
He was averaging 90 in 2015. That counts as close. But anyway, Denley, you keep Denley. I think he's got
to keep him a chance.
Yeah, Denley scored a 50. He's not had that much of a chance yet. I think you keep him at 3, in my opinion.
Okay, so I think we all agree Tom Abel does not deserve a call up. I'm sorry, Joe, but
I would agree.
Mad.
As much as I would defend him. And argue that he's as good as other people who have played for England recently. In fact, better than some of them. Tom Wesley. Adam Lyth. I could probably name quite a few.
Adam Lyth was scoring runs, though. When he got the England call-up, he was scoring
he was in
lots
good
of runs for Yorkshire.
He was scoring some runs.
All right, next question from Joe Chalmers. Interesting one again. This seems to be a very Somerset-based podcast. I feel quite outnumbered. Paddy's not here, but Paddy's a Somerset fan. George is a Somerset fan, and Sam is a Somerset fan. It's just Somerset versus Kent.
I feel you should maybe learn something from that. Yeah. Somerset fans.
Don't you worry. We're gonna pump you. We've just moved up into Division 1. You watch us, yeah. You watch Darren Stevens.
Get demoted.
Darren Stevens
doing bits.
He's gonna do bits. Dad bod Stevens. He's gonna just do it. He just bowls 70 miles an hour hoopers, and he's just gonna clean you up. Watch me. Trescothick first over he bowls.
But the problem is, even in Div 2, Kent couldn't score any runs.
Okay,
and they're not going to make it past 100 in Div 1.
It's fine, we'll bowl you out for 50.
To be fair, Somerset, that's a genuine possibility.
Okay.
Get on to the question.
Yeah. Adam Zampa or Max Waller? Interesting enough, Max Waller as a limited overs bowler is actually quite handy. This year he's actually been signed by the Quetta Gladiators in the PSL. I don't think he's played a game for them.
No, I mean, the PSL's over now and he didn't play a game, unfortunately. But
nice little holiday, though.
Yeah, fantastic for him.
Dubai and then Pakistan.
A fantastic little cultural trip for him.
A little field trip.
Yeah.
You got some stats on Max Waller?
Yeah, so again, I saw this and I was like, right, what is the comparison point between Max Waller and Adam Zampa? And apart from the fact that they're blonde, slightly mop-haired leg spinners, there's, I mean, the comparison between them, I feel, is a little bit crummy. I mean, I actually bought James Hildreth in. I bought my notes in on James Hildreth, and to be honest, all three of them could be brothers. They've all got that just like slightly dodgy haircut. Like if you look at their photos on Cricinfo, they've all got a slight like grin on their face. Very much could be brothers.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
It would be quite a handy little brothers team, to be fair. However, imagine that James Hildreth coming in top of the order. You've got two leg spinners working in tandem. It would be
a strong side. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna say Zampa. I don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, as much as I love Max Waller, and I do think he is probably underrated by a lot of people, Zampa is better.
Yeah. Okay. George, I just want to ask you, your favourite cricketers right now?
My favourite right now.
Okay, yeah, so we'll do right now, and then just some key idols from the past. Because I didn't actually find out, are you a batsman or a bowler?
So, I would say I'm a specialist fielder.
No, that's not.
No, so I've somehow...
Such a cop-out.
I was going to say I've somehow made a career, but a career is slightly misleading. My cricketing experience has been built on bowling attempted leg spin. So it's the illusion of spin, which just seems to get a wicket.
Yeah. Just 6 sliders.
Everyone always plays for the spin.
Always, no matter what. You bowl 3 overs, which go straight. Everyone's still playing for the spin. And then all you need is one ball to somehow hit a slight divot in the pitch and turn. And then they think they've got it worked out. Yeah, it's not spinning today, lads. We got him. We're going to just smack him around. One ball hits a divot and you're back in again. So Shane Warne very much was the idol growing up.
Current Ishodi?
I mean, I feel
Max Waller, obviously.
So Shane Warne.
Shane Warne growing up. Right now, some of the young Indians, like Pant is...
He's a bit of a swashbuckling guy, isn't he? I mean, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, scored some runs today. Some quick runs today.
Which you can find out on the podcast later this week. Release later. See you soon. Pant. Who else? Rishabh Pant. I don't like his trim though. Rishabh, if you're listening, I don't like that. The blonde highlights do not work.
Let's be fair, there's some awful trims going around. Hetmeyer as well. Shimron's lid is awful.
I feel they're just experimenting at the moment, aren't they? The haircuts are...
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, carry on, sorry. Rishabh Pant.
Pant, I do enjoy that he's kicked Dhoni out of the team. I think that's...
Yes, another Dhoni hater as well.
Another thing about this podcast, it seems, is everyone except me
realise.
I'm telling you now, you watch, he's going to win the IPL for Chennai. I don't want them to win it, but I have a feeling he's going to do it.
Really don't want them to win it.
But
that's not there.
I mean, in terms of like an England perspective, I'm a big fan of the Curran brothers.
Tom as well. Interesting.
Tom and Sam. I think
I like Sam. I'm not sure about Tom. But
why? What's Tom done to upset you?
No, he's not upset me. Tom, if you're listening, once again, no, I don't have any issue with Tom Curran. I just think he doesn't do that much with the ball, and he just hits the deck hard. He's fine, but Sam...
He didn't hit the deck hard either.
He seems to try and bowl effort balls.
It's still only 80.
It is the effort that counts.
Yeah. Tom, you're doing amazing.
Keep it up. Keep trying, matey. Sam... I mean, I do agree. I feel neither of them at the moment are the most, let's say, setting the world on fire.
Sam Curran has a lot of potential. I mean, he's still really young. What is he, 20?
19, 20?
Yeah, he's 1 year older than me, so 20.
Right, yeah.
21. 20 plus. Sorry.
Did you forget what age you are?
No, yeah. I did.
Count it up on your finger.
But, I mean, Tom's not really... He's
25, 26.
Yeah, something like that.
So
he's not got a huge amount of 24, Tom is actually. He's a little bit younger than I thought he was. But he's not got a huge amount of development left. And he's just nowhere near being international quality, in my opinion.
Just average.
Yeah.
Just an average to good county player.
He's to be fair. Actually,
to be fair, if he's average to good, then we're going to get a question from Joe Chalmers saying we should get him in the England
because he doesn't play for Somerset. If he signs for Somerset, then we will.
Somerset, and then he's in.
Alright, the big question for me, though.
Yeah.
Big four.
Yeah.
Who's your man? Virat Kohli, Kane Williamson, Steve Smith, or Joe Root?
Williamson, number 1.
Yes, another one. Woohoo!
Williamson 1, Kohli 2, Smith 3, Root 4.
So we actually talked about this yesterday on Messenger about Steve Smith, and I was just saying, yeah, I'll be honest, Steve Smith's not that good. I mean, no, he's very good. He just he struggles on swinging decks. And that was found out in the last Ashes in 2015. At Lord's and the Oval, where he made massive runs, they were both roads. and on the other pitches where it swung, he struggled. Well, that's my argument to why Williamson is better, because technically Williamson has not struggled anywhere.
Williamson won't ever really struggle anyway because his technique is so perfect.
But we talked about it as well, that we just don't know how Steve Smith is going to do this summer. I think it's a tricky one.
I think it's a bit stupid to write him off.
Yeah.
I mean, people were writing Virat Kohli off before last summer, and he came over and scored runs. And also, you can kind of see the Hollywood film, which seems to always gets played out. He's been banned. He's cried on TV a couple of times.
Yeah.
Some odd people are starting to feel sorry for him again, and he's going to come back to England and he's going to beat the Poms back into oblivion and score lots of runs, which isn't necessarily what I want to happen. But I feel it's a stupid thing.
I think
to
it'll be interesting to see how he deals with, because inevitably the Barmy Army are going to give him and Warner a lot of chat.
And Bancroft if he gets picked.
And if Bancroft gets picked,
He'll be too busy captaining Durham.
Yeah.
So you want to bring that? Yeah, let's talk about that.
That's
for a
a
minute.
bizarre appointment. So Bancroft has been signed as Durham's overseas player. It then came out he was going to miss the first championship game of the season because he's attending the Western Australia Awards dinner instead.
At least it shows he's a team player for Western Australia.
I mean,
that's the kind of commitment you want.
Durham came out and said, we're really annoyed about this, and then less than a week later have said, oh yeah, and also he's going to be our captain.
They're like, yeah, now I just got to just stay for the dinner. Is that all right, man? They're like, no, but okay.
But yeah, here's the captaincy.
I think it's an absurd move. But then at the same time, who was Durham captain last year?
Collingwood, who's retired.
So how can you go from Paul Collingwood, he's like
hero,
he's an absolute hero.
Yes.
To Cameron Bancroft. Like, I mean, I do feel sorry for him. However, that is
it's a big change.
That is some step down.
Durham's leadership, captain, leader, legend, Paul Collingwood, been there your whole career.
Yeah.
And then there you have an overseas player as your captain, and you have someone that's just been done for ball tampering. Ball tampering.
Yeah.
With no real history of captaincy skills.
The big thing is, you look at Durham's squad, there's not a name that jumps out at you as a captain.
Although they've just signed Alex Lees, haven't they?
They have signed Alex
from
Lees.
Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Big move for Durham. That's a big move.
I suppose you could give it Lees. They've got Will Smith back, who left for a few years, went down to Hampshire. He's back at Durham now. He could do the job for a couple of years. You've got someone like Chris Rushworth, I suppose, could do it.
Chris Rushworth's near the end of his career, though. I think they might
32.
be...
32 bowls filthy needles.
Was he top wicket taker last year?
Yeah, I think he might have been.
He had a ridiculous season, if I remember correctly. He had a really good
his
season.
His stats are ridiculous.
Yeah, he's still unreal.
Fantastic.
I've watched him bowl live, and he's just like...
He's one of those bowlers who never do it. If it's not moving, he's in some serious trouble. He's a Darren Stevens-esque. But if it is moving, watch out.
If he's only 32, then he's a whippersnapper compared with Collingwood.
Yeah.
Or Stevens. Stevens is 40 now, 41, something like that.
He's got another 8 years in him.
Yeah.
Get him in the England team. We'll get 6 years out of him, and then he can go and play for Durham for 2 years.
Just one thing I want to say about Steve Smith, just before we move on, was that I think the way he plays, like technically as well with Steve Smith, I don't see a weakness in his game.
Steve Smith's game?
Yes. I think maybe when the ball is swinging, he's more likely to snick it off. But I still think even then, because the way that he moves across and how far he moves across and how good he is off his pads, he's not like prone to LBW. He's very good in the channel outside off stump. I think he's a very good player. And to be honest, if he hadn't been banned, I think that order of 1 to 4 would probably still be Steve Smith at number 1. I think, for me anyway, that is. I love Kane Williamson, and I've said that to Sam on numerous occasions. But I just think Steve Smith is so talented. But
I think for me, assuming Steve Smith comes back in and performs as well as he was before he got banned in Test cricket, he's still the best. As much as I love Kane as well, but Steve Smith it's just the sheer volume of runs he's scored.
Yeah, that India
and as you say, there's not. Yeah, okay, maybe he might snick off a swinging ball, but everyone might snick off a swinging ball. Yeah, it's not like it's a massive glaring fault in his game. He's not inevitably going to snick off. It's just he might if it's swinging loads.
See, I think maybe I'm slightly a nostalgic look at cricket, but I'm not sure I can look past the ball tampering.
I think that's the same with me.
As a bloke, I don't like him at all.
Yeah, but for me, even looking at him as a batsman, I'm going to find it so hard to separate that. And I think that's probably a real shame for Steve Smith that it's something now which is going to
follow him.
It's going to follow him.
Yeah, it will. It'll be with him for the rest of his career, and that's why, like, I still agree with George about Kane being number one, but
he's just a lovely bloke.
He's an amazing guy. He just seems like just such a nice guy as well off the pitch.
Although he has also fallen guilty of the Maxwell, Adam Zampa, James Hildreth mop of blonde hair.
Oh yeah, that's number 4 in that list.
And that's 4 of them. They can join a really dodgy boy band.
Should we do that for next week? Just get a team of all that blonde hair,
the blonde mop heads.
The blonde and mop head 11, and just see. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try and find it out and just see if I can get like a gun 11 of blonde mop heads.
I mean, you definitely had Shane Warne at that point at some point.
Yeah.
Brody.
True.
Yeah, Broad, definitely.
There's going to be a lot of leg spinners in that team, though, isn't there? If you've got
Yeah,
Warne, Waller, and Zampa, you're going to hope to be playing
in the Wankhede in India, just getting the ball to Rag Square. Do you want to talk quickly about the European T20 League?
Yeah, so we did talk about it a couple of weeks ago. There's been a little bit more information come out about it. So they've named it as the Euro T20 Slam.
Buzzword.
Yeah, buzzword
Slam.
bingo. They have found they've confirmed the 6 host cities, which are Edinburgh, Glasgow, Belfast, Dublin, and Amsterdam and Rotterdam.
Very nice.
They've announced the format of it will be group stages, then semis and a final. Total of 33 games, and they've signed 10-year deal with their sponsors and partners.
10 years.
10 year.
IPL has only just done 10 years last.
So
year, I think,
yeah, it's good to see they're trying to commit to making it long term.
I think
Can only be good.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the kind of players that they can bring in and the money that they have to bring in the players, because I wonder, are they going to be looking to mainly make it associate and bring in like county cricketers as your like specialist players, or are they going to look to like Afghanistan, Zimbabwe, maybe like Australia, like Big Bash players, things like that. There's so many variables available, I guess, for this one, because it just seems much more interesting that it's based in Europe and not in England or in the UK, because I just think there's more options available.
Yeah, so why, for me, it's kind of going to be fighting for the same audience as this 100, surely.
Yeah,
I mean,
dates wise, what's the dates again?
It's I can't remember the exact dates, but it's right at the back end of the season.
Yeah,
it's like end of August to end, like 30th of August to 22nd of September.
So late. That's Ashes.
So yeah, that's actually their big competition this year, is competing with the end of the Ashes.
But why don't they? I can see it merge. Why don't they merge it with the 100? You have a Scotland team, you have an Ireland team, you have a Dutch team, and you have, I don't know, you have 5 or you have 7.
Well, that's
English
what's happened,
teams,
hasn't it? Because
and you then have a 10.
That's what's happened, I think, in the 100s. Is Kent and Surrey are merging together for a team in the 100, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, because
so the 100. There's actually a really good article on the Independent written by, I can't remember who wrote it actually, basically about how shambolic the 100 has been and how still nothing's organised. But basically,
is it this year?
No, starts next year.
I was gonna say, like, that'd be a bit worrying if they haven't done anything.
I mean, it's a bit worrying they've not done anything anyway. But basically, so they announced the host grounds, which it was inevitably basically the big test venues, and then the small counties have just been left to kind of go either basically all the counties now have partnered up with one of the grounds.
You've got your Southwest team.
So you've got Cardiff, Oval, Lords, Edgbaston, Old Trafford, Trent Bridge. I can't remember what the other
it's not much of an issue.
are. But it's really, really odd. And Colin Graves, the ECB CEO, or whatever he is, whatever his official title is, he's threatened counties of withholding payments and stuff to get them to vote it through. and it's the whole thing has just left a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of county execs, from what I've heard. There was a quote from an anonymous county exec in that article saying that Colin Graves is exactly that petty and exactly that mad, I think it was, that he would just strip away. So Surrey voted against it. They were the one county voted against in the most recent ECB vote on the 100. And they were threatened with losing the Oval franchise because they said, no, we don't think that you've done the right thing here.
I mean, interestingly, Surrey are probably the richest in the
county. They're the county that can afford to go, no. But Colin Graves essentially threatened, saying, well, in that case, we'll give your franchise to someone else. And that's not, to me, the mark of a man who's very confident in the product.
No.
Going back to what George said, I think, so you're saying to merge everything.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
the ECB wouldn't want to do it because it would bloat the competition. They're trying to reduce the number of teams.
But, so at the moment, what's it going to be? It's going to be 8 teams as like a round robin. I think.
Well,
I think
they've
I
not
think
announced,
but
but
I think that's the like working proposal.
Yeah, I think it is.
So why don't you make it, say, 7 teams, and you got your 3 from Scotland, from Ireland, and from the Netherlands, and you make it 10 team, or you even make it 12 teams if you really want to, and have 2 groups. Or 2 divisions, or you got relegation, promotion, or you got something riding on it.
Well, the other thing interesting about that is the amount of money that's being chucked at the 100 as well, which is money that Cricket Scotland and Netherlands Cricket and Cricket Ireland could not afford to do. So again, in that independent article, there was a figure. Basically, it's £200,000 per game they're spending on marketing for the first one.
What,
for just on the ground
100?
marketing for the 100. The ECB have set aside £200,000 a game.
That's a lot of money.
And the figure they gave in the article was normally for a whole season of T20, a big county like Surrey spend about 80,000
per game. Okay.
No, for the whole season. They spend less than half that.
Okay.
For the whole season.
All right, that's absurd.
But yeah, it just
it's becoming so complicated, and there's just so many leagues. I think
I just don't see how they can think that it's going to work. How's it going to lead into interest in the England team if you've not got Ben Stokes playing, if you've not got Joe Root playing, because they're not going to be playing in the 100. They're going to be playing test matches because they're happening at the same time. So you're going to get all of these new fans who are going to come along and support, say, the Southwest team, and they're going to fall in love with Peter Trago, who's still going at however old he's going to be.
He's playing today, actually, in the MCC.
But then they're not going to see him again.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on the Channel 5 highlights because it's 11 superstars who they've not seen for 4 weeks.
That's a big point.
Good to go back. Would like to say congratulations to Sue Strachan, who has been elected president of Cricket Scotland, first female president of Cricket Scotland.
That's great news.
Thought I'd make sure that got mentioned.
Scotland have got Pakistan. No, they've got this summer. They have.
I have no idea.
Right, let me have a look.
They've got. I can't remember.
Just give me a minute. I am pretty sure
Might be Pakistan.
It is them. But that's an interesting move. I don't know. Has she specified anything in her manifesto about what she wants to do or any changes?
Not that much about it, to be honest.
But yeah, I think perhaps we should probably have a look at the FTP program for England. So obviously we have the Ashes. George, predictions? Any ideas of what you think might happen
in the Ashes?
Yep. I mean, realistically, I think. All right, give the fan perspective as you as an England fan, and then give your insightful analysis.
I mean, you want it to be close, don't you? I mean, I've almost had. It's great seeing England win. However, I feel the India series ended in a bit of an anticlimax because it became clear that England were probably going to win. We're going to win that Test match series, and I would love to see a bit of a fight circa the 2009 series or 2005 or even some of the older ones where there was stuff riding on different games and it wasn't a foregone conclusion. So therefore, I think you almost want that narrative of Warner and Smith scoring runs and everyone hating them, and Jimmy running in fast and doing what he does, and maybe you get Tom Curran in to bowl it short and try and hit one of them. You got Sam Curran running in, bowling his 75 swingers, and just that's what I would love.
You want a competitive series.
Yeah.
And what do you think the score will be? You got any ideas?
I think it's going to be 3-1 to England.
3-1 to England. Okay, interesting.
I don't think England are a consistent enough side. I don't think we score enough runs to win, to not lose a game.
I go 4-1 because I can't see. Well, unless one's washed out, I can't see there being a draw because just
neither of the teams.
No one's good enough at batting for there to be draws that aren't very effective.
Rogue shout, 3-inning test match. Make it last the 5 days.
Whoa.
Rewrite.
So 6 innings then?
So three per side.
I like that.
You might as well, sell the tickets. If we're going to have a timeless test, why don't we just expand it out more?
So what, like 4 innings?
Each team bats 5 times.
Instead of having a multiple match series, you just have one timeless test where both teams have 10 innings.
Yeah, you set aside 3 weeks for it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to move, won't you? You'll have to move venue halfway through.
Imagine the pitch after day 7.
Well, maybe that's why Max Waller would finally get the call up, because England would be so desperate for spinners. They'll be like, come on, mate, we need you. You're going to be bowling, you're going to have Root and then 10 spinners. That's going to be your England team.
Root's definitely chucking down his offies as well.
Very, very much. He's opening the bowling. He's coming in from the pavilion end, early doors.
As the quick spinner.
Yeah. He's going to bang it in short. Try and get some movement off the slope, I think.
It's going to be...
I mean, it would work as well, because you've got Steve Smith. I'm sure he can chuck some leg breaks.
Half his balls are full
Kane chucking his offies.
Yeah.
Literally chucking.
Kane, have you watched Kane's action? It is...
Has he been cleared again?
He's been cleared, but it just looks like a massive Murray. The thing is, I don't know, because I still think... another big question. Did Murray chuck it? Yes or no?
No, and then yes.
What?
He didn't chuck it. Then he got accused of chucking it, got tested, told he was fine, and then he started chucking it. Genuinely, watch his action from footage from really early in his career, and it wasn't too bad. It's there's a little bit of a bend in the arm, but it didn't sort of straighten. Late in his career, especially when he played T20 leagues, it was just literally just get into the throw it halfway through his action and just threw it. There was no attempt even.
Yeah. So George, I remember you saying you're a big fan of Shane Warne. Big fan of Anil Kumble, or not so much, because obviously they're very different in their style. Warne obviously tossed it up a lot more, really got the ball to rip off the pitch, while Kumble more was line of length, pressure, and his googly was his real big, strength. Any other big leg spinners that you're a big fan of?
I think I was just fascinated by Shane Warne, and you had Stuart McGill who would come in and he would make Shane Warne look like an absolute numpty, because you have all the batsmen would be like, oh my god, we've got Warne coming from this end, I'm not getting out to Shane Warne. And then McGill would come on at the other end, and they go, right, this is our time to score some runs. Yeah, they'd come charging down the wicket. McGill would get 6 for nothing, and Shane Warne would have ploughed away all day and got absolutely nothing.
Stuart McGill's one of those players who was unlucky to come along when he did. So if he were around now, he would easily be in the Australia team. Yeah. First choice spinner. Well, maybe not, I suppose, with Gary, but...
Nice, Gary.
But certainly there was a long period where Australia were picking every spinner in the country.
Yeah.
And Stuart McGill was fantastic. He just didn't get to play that many games because he was playing at the same time as Warne.
Yeah. Any closing remarks? Are we going to do club cricketer... tip of the week. Have you, George? This is your time to shine. Any ideas on a club cricket top tip of the week? So the first one was tease. The second one was don't be a fast bowler.
Well, bowl medium.
Bowl mediums.
As little effort as possible.
Surely the thing which we spoke about earlier, how I've still playing cricket now, of give the illusion that you're going to spin the ball and don't actually spin it.
So
as a spinner, don't spin the ball. Is our top tip of the week.
I think if you play, once you play a certainly bad standard of cricket, if you actually spin the ball, then you're really going to struggle, because they're not going to hit it.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to hit the stumps if you're spinning
Yeah,
the ball. as well.
also, yeah, exactly.
If you're just putting it straight, you just know you have to pitch it.
And you're never going to get, realistically, you're never going to get a great, like, marginal LBW decision.
No.
So
Yeah.
you're having to, like, really chuck it up there and hope to hit them on the half volley.
Important question is, when you bowl, are you one of those bowlers that like goes like, oh, or like I do that so much in the net.
That just reminds me. I should mention it because I was watching the Champions County match. It was being streamed on YouTube this morning, and Scott Borthwick was bowled quite a bit actually, and almost every ball in his follow through, he'd be going up with his finger up in the air like he thought it was out, like he'd just get knocked, just solidly behind it, knocked into the covers, and he's just there in his follow through like he thought he was going to get a wicket.
I mean, that's the
It's
kind
really
of
weird.
Oh, that's the enthusiasm you won, though.
Yeah.
It's like
I couldn't decide.
it's like Christmas every time he bowls the ball.
It
it's
was
almost
probably
there,
he was
and
so
then-
excited.
Yeah,
I suppose in
doesn't quite
Borthwick's
come.
case, he was probably excited just to be bowling for a change.
And so, George, were you kind of like that, or are you more of a just see where it lands and kind of hope?
Yeah,
or,
hope it's somewhat in
hope
the
it
right
lands.
line.
Don't celebrate the wicket because that was an awful ball.
No, I'd say I'm quite an enthusiastic.
Like, have
Quite
you
an
ever been?
enthusiastic bowler?
Have you been that kind of guy that like disguises it? So like they think you're gonna bowl like some sort of googly, and you go like, oh, like thinking that's the wrong one, when in fact it's just a straight on seam up delivery. kind
Yeah,
of thing.
you have lots of like slightly odd hand gestures just before you start your run up, and you make like eye contact with the wicket keeper.
Pull him on the pocket.
Yeah, this is the
Oh,
one.
always absolutely nothing.
or the traditional thing where the spinner grabs the turf, does a little bit of a shake
exactly.
of the
Yeah,
pitch.
that's me. Lots of chat beforehand. You're
Yeah.
thinking, you have a slightly
Field
over
change.
enthusiastic. Yeah, boys, I'm going to turn it here. Let's get an extra slip involved. I want a gully in. Yeah, coming in off a steep square leg. I'm not going to bowl any half truckers to you.
I love that. I think that concludes this episode 3. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any more questions, make sure to send them to us on Facebook, Twitter. On Twitter is
at Grass Wicket. On Twitter, on Facebook, we are Grass on the Wicket podcast. You can reach us via Podbean as well.
Yeah. Make sure to subscribe on Podbean or
Yeah.
YouTube, wherever, any platform. We're available everywhere.
Presumably, you've worked out where you can listen to it if you're listening to it.
George, anything to plug? Anything to promote? Social media?
Yeah, I can't, you can't come on and promote yourself, can you?
You gotta do a little bit of shameless plug, eh?
I'm George Simmons. You can catch me on.
I assumed you'd written a book. I thought that was what you were on.
Well, I was slightly concerned why I'd been called on. I was like, am I being called on for the expert perspective? the official journalist view. I mean, I will very happily take it, but...
But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next week.